Thank you for joining us today, and welcome to another episode of Heart of a Volunteer Veterans Podcast. If you can't tell, we have a Marine coming aboard today. Stay with us. Great episode ahead. All right. Hope everyone is having an amazing day. Our guest today is a Marine, Vietnam veteran, two-time Purple Heart recipient, father, grandpa, cattleman, and commander of the All-American Beef Battalion. Bill Broadie, born and raised in Clark County, Kansas, raised his own right here in Clark County, Ashland, has an amazing story to tell. The lessons he has learned along the way after service, he gladly gives out to the veterans he meets and the thousands and thousands of active duty service members that he feeds through his All-American Beef Battalion. But hey, I'm going to let Bill tell his story. So for your listening pleasure, Lance Corporal Bill Broadie. Well, Bill, it's great to have you on the show.
Thanks for asking me.
How's your day going so far?
Pretty good. I've had a good day in the markets.
It's gotten hot, though.
Oh, and especially when the air conditioner went out in my building.
I know, I could feel it. It feels like we're over in the Nam a little bit.
Oh, no, it ain't really that hot.
Not yet. It'll get there. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Bill Broadie here. He was a Marine, still is a Marine, fighting hard still, and we're going to hear his story. Bill, where did you grow up at?
Right here in Ashland. I was born in gosh, that's pretty bad when you're 2 hospitals away from the one you were born in. Both the hospitals that we've had are gone, and we got our brand new one.
So you were born in the hospital that was the house, like the 2-story house.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that in that World War I, World War II book that the county had out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I needless to say, I don't remember a whole lot about that.
Right. So your family's from here. Met your girlfriend, went to high school with your girlfriend and everything, and your wife later.
Yes.
Did you know a lot of military service members in the area that kind of?
Not really. World War II immediate family. I had an uncle that I got to know, later in life that was Navy, and my uncle served during the Korean War, and he definitely didn't like it when I joined the Marines because he was a naval officer. But I think more than that, he helped evacuate the Marines when they fought their way out from the Incheon.
Right. That's big.
Yeah, and Marine Corps history, that's very big.
Yeah. So, like, for you to join the Marines, you weren't drafted. You raised your hand and joined right up.
I was bored with school. I had a 4-year academic scholarship to go to Southwestern, but I knew I'd probably flunk out because I was just bored with it, tired of school, and I think you probably had a time or two in your life, too, where you had to see if you were tough enough to do something, and I just wanted to see if I was tough enough to be a Marine.
I think a lot of people do that. I mean, for me, I was the same way. It's like I didn't want to go to college. It felt like I'd already been to enough school. It was time to see the world.
And, of course, Vietnam was cranked up pretty hard at that time. And, you're young and dumb.
So you joined. When did you join?
Oh, just as right after school was out, I enlisted, but I went in on a 90-day delay program, so actually put me leaving about the time all my friends went to college, and so I got to have fun all summer with my buddies.
Where did you go to boot camp at?
San Diego.
San Diego. They weren't Hollywood Marines back then, were there?
Oh, yeah, we were Hollywood Marines.
Still back then, too? Now, I always ask this question of people before boot camp, basic, or anything. Were you physically and mentally prepared for what you were going into, the training you were going into?
Physically, I probably was. Just simple fact back then, well, all summer I worked down at the sale barn, and, I was probably loading and unloading 3-4 semis a week for the sale barn, plus feeding the cattle that we brought through. So back then you were just farm tough.
Right.
Mentally, I don't know how you're ever quite ready for the yellow footprints.
Right. They scare you.
Oh, yeah. And you're standing on there thinking, my God, what did I do?
I tell you what, Bill, I had a conversation with a Marine that went through about 6 years ago, and he said that when he got off the bus, the drill instructor that came in there had an eye patch. He'd already been to combat, but he was right back still in the game. He said he was scared. He goes, this was the wrong life I picked when he saw that. But he was definitely grateful for it. So what sticks out to you during boot camp back then?
Well, I don't know. The thing is just you look at the whole picture, and looking back now, you can see how they molded you into the men you became.
Yeah. And
turned us from individuals into Marines that were, each of us had each other's back, and that's the way it was. They made a brotherhood out of it, and you didn't even know how they were doing it. I mean, you didn't know what they were doing, to be real truthful, but right. They made a brotherhood that you knew when you got through with boot camp, you earned the title Marine.
Definitely. I like how you say that, Bill. And that's the way you talk all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, Bill is a Marine's Marine. He wears the hat. You're gonna get the rest of his story, but if you haven't gotten it yet, he is. If he could be in, he would be in today. And he's got some plans he's trying to work to try to get to some of our deployed soldiers. And he'll talk about that later too. Do you still have any friends from boot camp?
Just one. We were actually in different platoons in boot camp, but we ended up in ITR together and school together, and in fact, all the way to NOM together, and then we went to 2 different battalions. And then just so many of my friends from NOM, if they didn't die there, I'm old.
Yeah.
I just about 3 years ago buried first time I'd seen him, and I saw him about 3 months before he died. A buddy that was in my fire team, I hadn't seen him since I got medevaced home.
Yeah.
But he died of lung cancer, but it was sure good to see him.
Yeah. We're getting about that time. So.
Well, I don't know if it's we, Chris, but I am. You're still a young buck.
Well, Bill, we've got problems within our community. Suicides, and some of the men and women that are, you would never think that would happen. It's happening to them, and it's tough because you expect them to be around forever and ever, staying strong, and then and something just happens that they can't explain. You can't explain, definitely. So definitely makes it tough when you lose one of your buds.
Yeah.
So you get in. What's your MOS?
I was a Remington Raider, a clerk typist.
An 0141.
Yep.
And you head off to Vietnam. Where'd you get to first?
Landed in country at Da Nang, and then we went in as replacements at that time. All the units were there, and so we were just replacing the either rotations or casualties, and went to a little place called Dialogue. It was just south of Da Nang. Mm-hmm. And I was just there 3 days, and then they moved the unit north.
So what goes on there are those replacements coming in and then people redeploying? Their tours ended. Is that where they go? Or is it 2 different locations for those people?
I think they were people, of course, with the job I had, there weren't very many casualties, so I'm sure that somebody was rotating home was why we got sent there.
Yeah.
But actually, they had an influx of clerks about that time, and I started out in S1 as a clerk, and then they had more clerks than they needed, and so they moved several of us to line companies as company clerks.
And when you got to the line company, did you stay as a clerk, or?
No, I had a first sergeant that, let's put it this way. His son was a Marine chopper pilot and landed at Camp Evans, where we moved up to. Mm-hmm. And he took off without going to see his dad because, I mean, there was a theoretical bounty on the first sergeant's head because he was not nice.
So are you saying the first sergeant took you out of the orderly room, the clerk's room, and put you in?
Well, he wanted, and you know this as well as anybody, that mail from home meant so much to you. Mm-hmm. And he tried to tell me that he wanted to mess with a couple of guys that were out in the field and told me to hold their mail, and I told him pretty plainly that I wouldn't do it and where he could stick his idea. And I was pretty excited, though, because when you're 19, I didn't join the Marine Corps to type. And it was funny because that night, the whole rear area had dysentery, and I was down at the latrine and ended up with a warrant officer that I was first working for in country, and told him I was going to finally be a real Marine instead of an office pogue. And he went to battalion commander, and because I guess we were a critical MOS. Mm-hmm. And an order came down the next morning that no one with my MOS could go to the field, so I was told to stand down. 2 days later, the first sergeant snuck me out. And then in the first month I was in the field, that would have been in late April, early May. I don't really remember, but about the 1st of May when I went out. And then I think it was, I don't remember for sure, the 3rd or 4th of July, I got hit again, but I found out that I'd been put up 4 times for promotion that month that I was out there, 2 months I was out there, and didn't ever get promoted. But when I came back from the hospital to the unit, I was promoted the day before I got hit. I guess that when the warrant officer saw the casualty report come out with my name on it, and I wasn't supposed to be out there, and the colonel giving a direct order that no one with my MOS could go to the field. Well, the first sergeant was in deep doo-doo. So
in July, you guys got hit in July?
I tripped a booby trap in July. The 3 of us, that was one of those non-finer moments of brain power in your life that I always carried my pack where I put my bandoliers on first, then I put my pack on, and in a firefight I could shuck my pack. Mm-hmm. You do that, and you're 60 pounds lighter than the guys in front of you, you can outrun them.
Right.
3 of us charged an ambush. Mm-hmm. I passed them. That wasn't the thing to do.
Right.
And that's when I didn't get hit that bad, just to be strapped on my arm, but I was close enough to explosion that the corpsman was afraid I had internal injuries because it blew me out. Well, I was close enough to blast to burn my face.
Right.
And so he was afraid I had internal injuries, so they medevac me. Captain didn't want to bring a chopper in for me, but the corpsman overrode him.
Right. So how long were you out of the fight, with that?
30 days.
Just 30 days?
Yeah, I should have got there a little quicker, but they lost my paperwork at the hospital and couldn't leave. And
where did they send you to?
I was at Da Nang.
There in Da Nang?
Yeah, NSA in Da Nang.
What was that like? I mean, can you talk about that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was wonderful. The hospital was. Air-conditioned wards you were on, a shower whenever you wanted it, 3 meals a day. First night I was there, though, Da Nang got hit with the first rocket attack it had in over a year. And the rockets were coming over the Quonset huts we were in, and the corpsmen got all excited, and they were running up and down the wards making us get under our racks. Well, if we took a direct hit, we were all gone anyway, but otherwise just let us sleep because they were sandbagged up and all. It wasn't.
Yeah.
And so we just, and we crawled under the racks and went back to sleep on the floor, and then they came through and woke us up and made us get back in bed. And, but it was nice, though, because, we would, be out 30 days at a time with no shower or anything. And so be able to take a shower every day was just, that was a luxury.
Now, did you call home when you were there, let them know?
We didn't have access to that.
Did you send any word home to your folks?
Well, yeah, I wrote home to them, but they got notified, but actually the military had messed up because they thought I was did minor wounds and stayed in the field, and so they didn't know I was in the hospital till they got the letters from me.
Right. Okay. Man. So when you get back, let's talk about like where your base that you were at. You said you had latrines down there, but like what were your showers and your mess hall and stuff like that like?
Of course, the showers were just set up in the tent.
Yeah.
And it was wasn't that far to it, and the mess tent was real close to where our company office was, so that wasn't a big deal, and it was kind of funny because when I was still in S1, got up north, it was just the end of the monsoons, and when you first got country, your air mattress still would hold air. And laid down that night, and one of the monsoon rains came in, and it was raining. And all of a sudden, I woke up with rain hitting me in the face. I'd floated out of the tent.
Now, the mission there for you guys, were you going? I mean, were you doing just patrols around your area? Were they airlifting you out to occupy space, or patrolling from what was your mission there?
Most of the time, it was just they might haul us out of 6-bys. Marine Corps never had enough choppers for anything. There was only one time that I remember we were hauled in on choppers to a ville that was supposed to had buku gooks in it, and we were only taking in about 50 Marines, and there were supposed to be 300 gooks in the village. But
wow!
And typical Marine Corps deal, we had 2 UH-34 helicopters, which basically just fire teams, all you could get in one.
Right.
And so I was with the first 2 teams, and that probably leads to one of my funnier stories because Lieutenant was up there with the first fire team, and I had my fire team. We were in the dry rice paddies, and Lieutenant and the rest of the other team were up in the wet ones, so they're standing on a rice paddy dike. Well, I just sit down facing the village, put my pack on the dike, and it's not bad sitting, and we started taking automatic weapons fire, and they had that dike zeroed. I mean, the first round missed me by a foot, and then moved away. And then everybody in the first fire team, but one, jumped into the mud, and Schaefer just stood there doing a dance on top of the fire team, or the dike, returning fire, saying, "You blankety blank son, got me dirty." I mean, we just come out of the rear with clean utilities, new boots, and showered. He never did. He stood up and returned fire the whole time and just did a dance on top of the dike.
Just to stay clean.
Yeah, and he wasn't going to get down in the mud.
Bill, what other stories you got during your tour?
Oh, there was the one that day. We took a Vietnamese woman prisoner, and the captain's radio man was guarding her, and evidently they'd found a 500-pound, unexploded 500-pound bomb in the village. Nobody told us the engineers were going to blow it. We were just standing around. In fact, my team leader's down in the river filling canteens, and they blew this 500-pound bomb, and I'm not going to describe the wound on the woman, but the shrapnel that hit her burned her enough it cauterized the wound.
Wow.
And I looked down, and I feel this heat between my legs, and a piece about 3 inches across it hit right between my feet and started the grass on fire. It was...
You're getting lucky all over the place.
Oh, I've been lucky all my life, kid.
So, what was your daily life like when you're back? When you're not out for 30 days. What's that feel like?
Well, they, because we just come in for 2 or 3 days, and you get a
rotate it the other way.
Sorry about that. It's on there somewhere.
No, you're fine.
they pretty well leave us alone, for come home or back into the rear for a couple of days, get fresh utilities, eat some of the good chow instead of sea rations, But it was pretty, get caught up on your mail, write letters, shower a couple times a day just because it felt good. And, but they didn't mess with you much if you came in like that. There was one time, at one time they'd cut us down to one meal of sea rations a day in the field.
Right.
And somebody in the company had written home to his folks, and they got a hold of some congressman. They got us back up to 2, and we weren't getting our 2 cans of beer a day either that we're supposed to be getting. So they force marched us in from the field about 10 miles just to
make you earn it.
Get in, get our hot meal and 2 cans of beer. And luckily, Sergeant Chestnut, Gunny Sergeant Chestnut, he had dysentery. And so he was having to fall out several times, and my fire team got assigned the duty of taking care of him, making sure so we didn't have to run in. We got to walk. But the other guys did a rapid pace redeployment back to the base.
So how many casualties had your unit taken up to this point, would you say?
I can't even tell you. Because all of our stuff was 30-second firefights at that time.
Right.
And we had no major deals. Most of it was booby traps.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, most of my stuff that I was in, all of it, in fact, was, long firefight would be 2 minutes.
Right.
So it was, now, if I hadn't have got hit and come home later, my battalion took on an NVA division up to DMZ, and the colonel even got shot that day, so you know what it was like.
Yeah.
But a kid that I had under me, my fire team, got killed that day.
What unit were you in, Bill?
2nd Battalion, 4th Marines.
Okay, 2-4. All right. Do you want to talk about your last mission? September 7th?
Yeah, we were going on a battalion op. Didn't have point for the battalion that day because I usually always walk point. But at that time I was a temporary team leader because my team leader was an R&R.
Right.
And
what was your rank then?
I was a Lance Corporal in E3.
Lance Cooley. All right.
And I had 2 guys under me in my team. My lieutenant believed in time in the bush, not stripes on the sleeve. So both the guys under me, they outranked me.
Right.
But we moved out, and we're in the mountains, and the front of the battalion got ambushed, and they radioed back for our platoon to try and flank the ambush, and then we're in zero visibility jungle. I mean, you just can't see 10 feet anywhere. And I got this rookie walking point instead of where I would have been, and he walked through the ambush site evidently and stopped, and then we started to move out again, and then that's when they cut loose on me, and first round hit me mid-calf and spun on my good leg and did a somersault down the mountain and started to return fire and looked, and I was shooting blood 3 foot in the air. Thought, I've got a leak. And so I went to trying to stop the flow of blood instead of returning fire, wouldn't yell for my corpsman because I knew he tried to come through the firefight to get to me.
Right.
Doc Lowe was the bravest man I ever knew. Bravest man I ever knew.
Is he still with us today?
I don't know. I have no idea where he's at or if he's even alive. He's not on the wall. I know that.
What's his first name?
Byron Lowe.
Byron Lowe. Hey, anybody out there, if you got a little time on your hands, look up Byron Lowe, Navy medic.
Yep, Corpsman.
1967, 68, Vietnam.
Yeah.
If you find him, you reach out. Heart of Volunteer will get Bill and him in contact.
I'd love to see him.
That would be amazing.
I'd have to buy you beer if you make that happen.
All right. All right. So what? You've did your corpsman? Did he make it down to you?
Yeah, Doc came in for me, and when he got there, I said, "Damn, took you long enough, Doc." And then he looked down at me and said, "You're a little cooler than you were the first time you got hit."
Yeah.
The first time I got hit, I was so close to blast and burn me, and I thought I'd been hit with white phosphorus.
Yeah.
I was real close to a panic there.
Right. Yeah, Willie Pete ain't no joke. It keeps on burning.
Oh, yeah.
So what's the actions that are happening, and what's going on around you? If you can still remember that, or are you paying attention to it at that point?
Oh, yeah. I mean, of course, we're in triple canopy jungle. And first chopper comes in, medevac comes in, and he can't get the basket dropped through the overhang, the overhang.
Right.
And he had wounded on from the DMZ because we're right below caisson. And he had to go on, and then the second chopper, by then they had a hole blown in the canopy, and chopper got the basket dropped in, but chopper was taking fire. My guys just got me not strapped in, laid in the basket, and the chopper pulled out before they had me strapped in, pulled me up in the trees and flipped me out.
So you fell?
Yeah, about 30 feet, they told me.
What happened to you when you fell? Did you sustain more injuries, or?
No, I guess it hurt my feelings. But then the next day they ran airstrikes on the hill. The jets came in, laid napalm outside our perimeter, and then the gunships came in and made strafing runs when chopper dropped the basket in. When they're pulling me out, I could see the grain tracers going by the basket.
Yeah.
And thought I can't get shot in the rear, so I rolled over in the basket and gave him a very strong hand gesture to the gooks.
Now, how long is it from the time you got hit until the time you're being medevaced?
24 hours.
24 hours. So you're just operating with a tourniquet.
Had gangrene by the time they got me to the hospital.
Really?
But I was pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they amputated your leg.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened from there?
Well, in fact, the last member of my platoon I saw, he got hit 3 days before. And they took me to Fubai. And that's where they did the surgery. And then they were going to put me on a medevac back to the States, which was highly unusual at the time. Most of the guys got sent to Japan or the Philippines, and for 2 or 3 months before they ever came back. And I was got out of the field on the 8th. On the 9th, they took me down to Da Nang, and on the 10th, they put me on a flight back to the States. And
Where'd you come to first?
well, flew out of Da Nang into right by Fort Dix, whatever that Air Force base is.
I don't know.
Fort Dix, New Jersey, basically.
Okay.
And that pulled us off the plane and put us in a hospital there at Fort Dix overnight. The next day they brought a bus up, loaded our stretchers on buses, and took us down to Philadelphia.
Okay. How long did you stay there?
From the 10th of September till I was dismissed from the hospital the 27th of March, 68. But, they, of course, we could, after we got where we were somewhat mobile, we could get out of the hospital at night or on weekends or whatever, but it was quite an experience.
Now, did you have family and friends, Linda, come visit?
Yeah, well, first of all, I had an aunt and uncle that lived out on Valley Stream, New York, out on Long Island.
Okay, that's nice.
And Red Cross that night at Fort Dix came on and gave us all a 3-minute phone call. Mm-hmm. So I called my folks that night from Fort Dix to say I was back in the States. They'd just been notified that day that I'd been hit. And Dad gave me his credit card number and had me call my aunt and uncle that lived out on Long Island, New York. And they got there about 2 in the morning, I think. They left, and they brought a World War II veteran with him that had lost a leg during the World War II. Well, and he, I was just tickled to be alive to see Margaret and Bert. So, but he went around and talked to a lot of the kids that were laying there in the wards, and hopefully helped them start on their road to recovery, because it's. And then, of course, after that, Bert and Margaret, if they could get away, they'd come down to Philadelphia every weekend.
Right. Did they ever bust you out, take you back home for weekends?
Yeah, after I got where I could get to the airport myself, well, I'd fly up there. I think it cost me, was military rate was $16, fly round trip to New York City and back from Philadelphia.
You can't beat that.
No.
We don't get those kind of deals no more. All right, so Bill, what's it look like when you get back home?
Well, the country was coming out so adamantly protesting the war.
Right.
And, even one of my classmates spit on me when I came home at Christmas. And I probably better never see him again, because I was pretty weak at that time. I dropped 60 pounds before I got hit, and couldn't get out of the wheelchair to hit him. But I still remember. So if he's out there, I remember. Imagine he remembers what he did. He better not come back to Ashland.
He probably knows better now.
And I'm sure it feel good to hit him once. So.
All right, so you're back on the ranch.
And came,
right? Back to working?
Not a lot. That summer, Linda and I were going to get married that fall, or that summer, and so we're going to school when school started in the fall, so we were both working as many hours as we could. So I was driving a tractor for a local farmer, and driving it 12, 14 hours a day. And then that end of July that year, we got married, and then started back to school that fall.
Now, you and I talked the other day, and you've talked about this numerous times, that she didn't know what she was getting into. Well, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Linda and I started dating in November of our senior year. She'd moved up here between our junior and senior year, and we got engaged before I shipped out, which she probably wished it hadn't happened later, because she always told everybody she didn't marry the same man she got engaged to. But it was scary for her. She didn't know how to handle it, and it's. I thought I was normal,
right?
But we really had we had our ups and downs, and like I had no clue till 1988 that I had PTSD.
Right.
Till I worked with a counselor out of the VA on something else, and then he kept telling me I needed to come see him. But, I put her through stuff I wish I could fix today, since I don't have her anymore. But, she was wonderful, and probably kept me out of jail about that time.
Right. Bill, I'm glad that you said that, because I hope some veterans listen, hear that the longer you go and you let, even a diagnosis of PTSD or some other ailment go, it takes time off your life where you're not the best that you can be for other people. So, we always tell the veterans out there now that even the new ones we're producing every single day, get your head right, because it matters for the people that are in your life.
Yeah, it's, of course, Linda's statement always was that she didn't marry the same man she got engaged to.
Right.
Because, we got engaged right before I shipped out, and I'm sure it was quite a shock for her, but, and I even broke our engagement once because I wasn't going to saddle her with a cripple, and she didn't accept that, thankfully.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, you know what? Behind every good man's a strong woman, no doubt.
And they have to be strong, especially when these kids are coming home.
Yeah. Yep. So, got married. What's going on? You and Linda graduate school, Fort Hays State?
Yeah, we went through. She was went the 2 years I was gone, and so she worked part-time, went to school part-time, so we both graduated. I went through in 3 years because I didn't fit school real well.
Right.
You know, I didn't enjoy it, didn't want to be there, but I didn't know what I could do. You know, because here I am, I've been a cowboy all my life, and all of a sudden one leg's gone. But then I got the opportunity to come back and ended up in a partnership with this old man, and my granddad loaned me $27,000 that I bought I bought a tractor, a Noble Blade, a grain drill, and a one-way, and a pickup for $27,000.
Right.
And our relationship lasted got rocky after a year and a half, but he thought anybody that was young couldn't have a good idea. And then finally, my dad happened to walk in the guy's house one, and the guy didn't know Dad was standing behind him. Dad heard him talking to me, and he just looked at him and said, "Bob, I think Bill just found his new partner, and it's not you." And that's when my dad and I became a partnership.
Yeah. And how long did that last?
Till he died.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was my best friend.
And now who do you got as one of your partners?
Well, I brought my grandson on. As you well know, I had some health issues last summer, and right before I knew I had a health issue, I brought my grandson into the business with me, and of course my son does the same thing too.
Right.
And I went down. I was in hospital, a rehab hospital, assisted living in 3.5 months last year in Wichita, and my grandson just stepped up and took care of everything.
Yeah.
Pretty proud of him.
Bill, I would have to say that I think you probably had a lot to do with that. You know what I mean? Just the way you kind of lived your life, and for him to stand up and do that, it kind of seems like that's par for the course for you guys.
Well, that, of course, it might be my son too. That I was Barrett one time. Guys were talking about how tough they had it growing up, and he just looked at him and laughed. Said, "You guys had it tough. I had 18 years of Marine Corps boot camp."
Right. All right. So, for people that don't know, Bill, what do you do here at Superior Livestock Auctions here in Ashland?
Well, I'm a field rep, an independent contractor with Superior, and we go out and talk to people with the cattle and present our program to them. We film the cattle. We uplink it on satellite television. Every 2 weeks, basically, we have a regular video auction, which can also be bid on over the internet. And then on the off weeks, we have what we call an internet auction that, so we can work on it a lot shorter time period, because it just basically 2 days and we can have them up on the internet auction, as opposed to almost 2 weeks out front for their catalog auctions, because we send out a catalog every sale, every video or TV auction. And so they have to put that catalog together and get it mailed out. In fact, we've got a sale Thursday in Fort Worth.
There's a lot of those auctions going on. I see the sign everywhere I go.
Superior is really the first in the industry to make it work, and we are the largest livestock auction in the United States right now.
All right. Now, what about I'm just looking out for other veterans like you do. Are there job openings for veterans within the company?
There could be some technical jobs, and with our deal in Fort Worth, I wouldn't make a representation there. Somebody with cattle experience, and because it'd be a dangerous business to get in if you didn't know what you were doing. I mean, that was that phone call I got right before we started was, this guy calls me Dad because I chewed his butt a few times when I saw him screwing up, but yet he was calling me for advice, and he's one of the top reps in the company. But having a little problem with a single buyer, and how do I need to treat him? I want my reputation to be good, but
right.
Something doesn't feel quite right here.
Yeah, and
so sometimes you just get to be an advisor to some of the other guys.
Right. Now you've got something pretty amazing going on that you do all over the country, trying to take it to some of the hot spots where soldiers and Marines. Tell everybody about that, because I know you're proud of it, and I'm just amazed by it.
Well, I've got the most incredible group of volunteers, but we just had our 11th anniversary, 26th of April, but we started this, and I had an idea because I started to see the media trying to treat these young people the way they did us.
Right.
Anything bad they could publish about you guys, but not the good things you do. And I think I had a non-publishable word I used on them back then, but I thought these guys are trying to turn this into Vietnam, where they're treating these young kids, and I got the idea because I've done two things in my adult life: United States Marine and cattleman.
Right.
And so I've got to think, why don't we put this thing together and go cook ribeye steak dinners for them? And went to the owner and general manager of Spirit at the time, told him I had a crazy idea, and I said, Jim, this is what I want to do. And he just looked at me and said, we can do it. Well, it took us a while to get it off the ground, but we did. And at this point, we've served over 400,000 troops and family members ribeye steak dinners from 26 different states.
And you guys named it the All-American Beef Battalion, the AABB.
Yeah. It's pretty humbling for me, especially when we had so many hot spots going that these kids were shipping out to. And I'd usually have more help than I needed to be. I didn't need to be in the serving line. I could just stand and shake their hand and thank them. And I always knew some of them weren't coming back, except for the flag drivers over there coughing, and that really bothered me. But it's just a small way our industry can say thank you to these kids that are protecting my freedom, your freedom, everybody's.
Absolutely.
And ever since 9/11, every one of them has volunteered. I mean, and it's they're a tremendous group of young people.
Now, Bill steakfortroops.com. Steakfortroops.com. Do you guys take donations there on the site?
Yeah, they can do it there, or our address is there. What we'll tell you is just mail it to our address.
Okay.
Because either or, because if they just want to send us a check, because we're a 501c3, we're fully deductible. As my accountant says, if you're in the beef business, we're advertising for you, so write it off as advertising, because
right.
That's what we're doing. Our mission statement is to promote American beef and to support the men and women fighting the global war on terror. So, and I don't know a much better way to promote beef than feed one of these kids the best steak he's ever had in his life, because these are all 18 to 20 ounce ribeyes.
Now, I was reading an article that the meat stays. How long is it staying in the locker before it comes out? It's been specially cut just for All-American Beef Battalion.
We were aging it. We haven't been, because Tim Kirby just at Dodge City, Kirby Meats, just for 9 years wouldn't charge us a thing and did it all for us. He'd go pick the meat up. We'd have to send him a check for the meat because he'd have to pay for it. And Tim would age it for us and all. Now we haven't. Tim said, I just can't do it anymore. I said, well, Tim, let's pay for it. No, he said, they don't have 9 years and as many steaks as they cut. Well, he's a tremendous person, because the donation he made, not directly out of his pocket, but he wasn't.
His effort.
He was paying somebody else to help cut the meat, because we were pretty significant, not business for him, but part of his time at that locker plant in Dodge City.
Yeah.
Since then, we've made some other arrangements at Garden City and all. Not quite as good as we'd like to have it, but still haven't had anybody complain about the steaks.
Right. Cut them with a plastic knife.
Yeah.
That tender.
Yeah, my sister, the first feed she came to, she really scolded me. You can't feed steaks with silverware like this. And she came back later and said, I apologize, you can feed steaks with silver like this.
Right. Now, Bill, can people go on the website and see where the next feeding is going to be for troops?
Actually, I don't handle the website and haven't been on it a long time, but I've discouraged that.
Okay.
Simple fact that there for a while we had some people that like to protest the troops.
Gotcha.
And so I don't make it a big published announcement of where we're going. Because I think, Chris, you probably know me well enough to know if one of those people showed up at one of my feeds, probably one of us would go to jail and the other would go to the hospital.
So if somebody wants to get involved, is there a number they can call?
My phone number's on the website, my personal phone number.
Okay. Hey, everybody, if you get a chance, if you want to get involved with this, reach out. I'm going to try to get down when you go to Fort Seal. I'm going to try to get down there. We're going to try to podcast from down there and try to find some veterans and really cover the All-American Beef Battalion, in an episode of its own. That's exciting stuff, Bill. I like that.
Well, we've had tremendous support from individuals and, Superior with the Oklahoma City Stockyards with Robert York and bank there in the Stockyards. I mean, every December for the last, I don't know how many years now, they've had a rollover auction, which somebody donates an animal and then they sell it multiple times, and then once for real value. And I think the lowest they ever did in 20 minutes was $45,000 up to 61 or 2,000. And you have things like that happen. Or I just got a nice note, and we got a check from a gentleman that he'd bought a bull from a seed stock producer that something happened with the bull, but the bull was warranted, and that producer brought him a new equal bull and told him just to sell and keep the money for the salvage value of it. The guy said, I just couldn't feel right keeping that money for salvage value, so he sent the check to the Beef Battalion.
Yeah, there you go.
So there's things like that, and there's, young people that have got involved and donated their bucket calf that they grew into a yearling steer, and it's very humbling that I just had an idea that so many people got on board with, but I've got the most phenomenal group of volunteers you could ever see. They're not a salary paid in our organization.
Right.
The guys get paid that are crucial people that pull the equipment. We reimburse them their mileage because it's not cheap pulling these cookers up down the road. But in fact, the Beef Battalion doesn't own the cookers. We own them individually. Of course, that's why you'll see Superior livestock all over mine.
Right.
So I can advertise for Superior while we're cooking.
Yeah.
Or going to the feeds.
So, Bill, what advice would you give for a veteran getting out, getting ready to live his or her life? What advice would you give for him? Having been through what you've been through, and having the opportunity to sit and visit with some of these young Marines and troopers, and what advice would you give them?
It's hard for me to even start to say that. I always tell them I've got the advantage over the two-legged guys because every time I get to feeling sorry for myself, I can pull my leg off, kick myself in the butt, and get going. But, somewhere in there, they've got to just make up their mind that they're going to get through it. And they'll find some people, there are people that they can lean on if they'll just look a little bit, whether it's old buddies or new ones or old warriors. There was a gentleman here that he's passed away now, but he went in 3 days after D-Day and fought all the way to Berlin. And Johnny and I talked a lot in those days, because the same thing bothered him that bothered me, and and when you kids were going off to war, it bothers the hell out of us.
Hey, so everybody, Bill is telling you to reach out and talk to somebody. Connect with your old buddies, and don't let it bring you down.
Yeah, I mean, and that might not be your old buddies. It might be somebody else that was been there and done it before you did. And go talk to a non-vet. If we didn't go through hell back here in the States, they don't know what hell is. So there's people out there that care. It might be through. It's hard to go. Was hard for me to go, and I was blessed. I got pretty mad at God, and back in '88, I did a lot of work on POWMIA stuff, and the local counselor, counselor at the VA, put me in touch with this Southern Baptist minister at Hayes. He was a retired Green Beret, and an ordinary minister. You know as well as I do, you couldn't talk to them about what they can't understand what you've seen and what.
Right.
But this guy, I was preaching to the choir when I talked to him.
Right.
I mean, he'd been there and done it, and he brought me back to the Lord. And like I said, I was pretty mad at God.
Yeah.
And I sure couldn't tell him anything that got him very excited, because if I'd done it once, he'd done it 3 times. And,
Yeah.
It's too easy to crawl in a bottle, and it's too easy to, I guess dope. I don't know where. I guess there's dope around here. I keep hearing there is, but they haven't offered me any. But it's too easy to crawl on that substitute, and when there's people that care about you.
Right. Those are great words, Bill. Hey, I hope everybody enjoyed Bill. Well, I'm going to come back. We might do another episode.
Sounds good, Will.
Like I said, I really want to do one about the All-American Beef Battalion. I'd like to get a good episode. So if you've got some people that maybe we can have them call in, we can bring them in on the episode and really get different ideas of people, what the battalion means to them. Mm-hmm. Okay.
We just have to take you one. Of course, I had to keep you out of the steaks while we're trying to cook for the troops.
Right. Once again, everybody, an honor and a privilege to have the opportunity to sit and enjoy a chat with some of my favorite people, veterans. Like a lot of us, I grew up reading and hearing about the actions of Vietnam. I still feel as if I'm standing in the shadows of great men and women. A heartfelt thank you to Bill for his service and his unwavering dedication to all who are serving on active duty that he's been feeding and taking care of through the All-American Beef Battalion, and to the veterans that he takes the time to talk to and help them get back on their feet. Bill, thank you for what you do for all of us. Everyone be safe. Keep getting after it. And like, share, subscribe, please. Hey, and guess what? Go to steakfortroops.com. Steakfortroops.com and check out All-American Beef Battalion. Hey, everybody, get involved with yourself and others. Many blessings. Noel Fisher. Copyright 2019.